Okay, so you want to change over from controller to mouse and keyboard, but before you do, you want some advice on how easy it is to change, some of the difficulties in changing and what's hard to get used to, and some little tips and tricks that I've found from actually changing myself. I've got you covered. Stick around. Let's go. Hi guys, welcome to Finesse Gaming. Thank you for tuning in. Hope you're all having a fantastic day. So today's video, like I said, is going to be a quick overview of me changing over from a controller to a mouse and keyboard about 7 months ago, and this is just the journey that I've taken and just my experience so far. So I hope you enjoy the video. This is going to go over some little tricks that I've learned along the way and some tips to help you hopefully change over from controller to mouse and keyboard and make it a little bit easier for you to do. Okay, so like I said, the learning process does take a bit of time, which is understandable. It's just getting used to muscle memory. It's just getting used to the right keybinds, the right buttons you've got to press, and the right movement with the mouse. But that all becomes quite natural after a period of time. The mouse is actually an easier thing to learn than the keyboard, so the keyboard does take a little bit longer to learn because of all the different keybinds that you need to know. So after 4 months, I was probably at the same level I was at with a controller, and it took a bit of time to get used to it, obviously, but that 4 months I was at the same level and I felt like I could keep going a little bit higher. So now after 7 months, I am a much better player than I was with a controller. I feel like I'm a more well-rounded player. I've got more skills that I can use, and I feel like I can compete now at a higher level. My movement is far better than it used to be on a controller, so that's a big positive, and I don't have to think anymore after 7 months of what buttons I've got to press. It's just all second nature, and it's really, really quick. So in general, I can use different things like shield cells or heals or whatever things are going to do. It depends what game you play. I don't even have to think about them now. It's just second nature, and that is far quicker than it could be on a controller. So I think the bit that stops people switching over is the time it takes to get used to the keybinds on a keyboard. The mouse, like I said, isn't so hard to do. It's quite straightforward. But the keyboard, sorry, does take a little bit of time. It takes longer to get used to. The keybinds you've got to find. You've got to make the right ones for yourself. You may have to adjust them for different games if you play different games. But that's what takes a bit of time to get used to doing it. But don't let that stop you. It won't take that long, amazingly. It doesn't take probably as long as you think. You just got to take the first step and accept that you won't be as good at the game as you were with a controller when you first change over. Just accept that, practice, and you will get better over time. So in my case, when I switched over from a controller to mouse and keyboard, I wasn't very good at the start, but I also changed from a PS4 to a PC. So I started a new account, basically. So I started in the beginner lobby, so I went back to the beginning, let's go to level 1. And that did make a difference. So I wasn't up against the high-skilled, high-level players that I was with a controller on a PS4. I was at the beginning on a PC. So although there were good players still at that level, or players doing what I was, I suppose, doing, changing from one to the other, I was at a better level than most of them because I still knew how to play the game. I still knew the maps. I still knew the different ways to play the game. So it did make a difference for me. It was easier for me to get used to the keybinds and the mouse and keyboard movement. So if you can do that, that's a big positive. So I would recommend that you start a new account maybe, or play a game where you're not up against some of the high skill level players, just so you can get used to it at the beginning. New accounts would be a fantastic way of doing this. You can start at the beginning and just work your way up, getting used to it as you go along. It would be much harder to do this if you changed over and then played at the same, or tried to play at the same level you were at, because you're not going to do it straight away, and obviously your opponents are still going to be good, so you won't be having much fun in doing it. So go back a few levels, maybe start a new account. If you're switching over from one console to the other, or to a console to PC, then obviously that will be fine because you'll be going back to the beginning. So yeah, think about that as you do it. And also take your time practicing. Go to the practice areas if you've got one in the game. I play Apex Legends, so we've got the firing range that I can go to. You've got Fortnite, which has a practice mode as a playground, or I think it's creative mode now. You've got aim labs as well on PC, which you can use to get better at your aim. So you've got plenty of different practice facilities, but don't neglect them. Keep practicing. And that's the way you're going to get better, is to use the practice time wisely. And when you're practicing, make sure you're going over all different aspects of it. Make sure you're going over the movement, the aim, the shooting. Try different guns if you're playing FPS games. Make sure you're doing different movement skills that you're going to do with different characters. So make sure you kind of cover everything that you can need to with the keybinds on the keyboard and all the stuff on the mouse as well. And like I said earlier, although the mouse is easier to control than the keyboard, don't neglect it. Still practice with the mouse to get better at aim. So just because it is easier doesn't mean you shouldn't continue to practice with it. It's still a big part of it. Make sure you're good at aiming. I will explain why in a second, but make sure you keep practicing with the mouse to get your aim under control and to get the recoil control down as well. So obviously with a mouse, you will have to find the right DPI or the right sensitivity for you, which is going to be something you will have to practice with on one of those practice ranges, or a game where you can do it. But just make sure that you find the right sensitivity. If you can, lower it as much as you possibly can to get better aim. but don't do it all at once. So make sure you bring it down gradually, not too fast. If you can do that in game, that's great. You can change the DPI on the mouse as well, but most of the time the mouse is kind of set at 800. That's kind of a standard, I guess, that's accepted. But again, you can change that if you wanted to, or do it in game, which most people will do. And the reason I say the mouse is so important is because at the start your keybinds and your keyboard are not going to be second nature to you. You won't be that quick, you won't be that great using them. The mouse, if you can get good at your aim, will actually counteract that. So it will make up for the fact that your keyboard control isn't great. If your mouse control is very good, you'll still do well in most of the games. So it kind of makes up for the fact that your skill level is a little bit below where it would need to be when you first change to a keyboard. If you can get your mouse skill control higher, then that will make a big difference for you. And then lastly, with the keyboard, you need to find the keybinds that will suit you and your playstyle. So Pro Settings is a good place to start. Remember, what suits them may not suit you, and what suits your favorite streamer or pro or whatever may not suit you. So just start at them, maybe just have a little look to see what a few of them do, and you could base it on them, but make sure you then adjust them to how you play. And the best way to find the keybinds that are best for you is to map them to the buttons that you find easiest to press. So for example, I don't use WASD to control my movement, I use ESDF, and that is because I learned to touch type before I used a gaming keyboard. So it's natural for me for my index finger to sit on the F key and not the D key. So that's why I use ESDF, but also in game that allows me to use another 3 buttons down the far left of the keyboard with my little finger, so I actually have a few more keybinds down there than most people will have, and I find them very, very easy to use. So that's the way I do it. I don't do too many keybinds to my right hand side of my hands on my index finger. I only just do the keys to the immediate right. I don't go beyond that, but I know quite a few streamers do. So just find the right ones that are good for you. You need to be able to press them quickly and accurately, and under, should we say, pressure in game, you need to be able to do it very, very quickly. And the last point I'll make is practice does make perfect in this. It will become second nature to you in no time. Like I said, after 4 months, it was pretty much second nature to me. Didn't think about anything. I was at the same level I was at with a controller. After 7 months, now I'm definitely better than I was with a controller. So what you want to look for from when you begin is an improvement after 1 month from the beginning, and you should find that roughly between 2 weeks and a month. And then hopefully between 3 and 4 months, you should find yourself being at a rough same level as you were at with a controller. And then after 6 months, you should be a better player all round than you were with a controller. You should have the keybinds second nature to you, you should have mouse control under a good control, and you should be able to compete at a higher level once all that becomes second nature to you. Alright guys, that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed this. It's only a very quick one, but this is my experience so far, and I have to say there's no negatives really, it's only positives. The thing that I've had to get used to the most are the keybinds and the keyboard movements. But the mouse is a very, very simple thing, like I said, to get used to. It does take a bit of practice. Keep practicing it. If your aim is incredible, then it makes up for the keyboard maybe not being quite as good as the mouse. Make sure you practice it in game modes where it allows you to practice it. Don't practice it at the very, very highest levels, maybe in ranked modes and things like that. Practice it in other ones. And yeah, if you're thinking about doing it but a bit unsure, my advice is to just go and do it. Just head out there, get yourself a mouse and keyboard, and try it. Practice with it first and then get into games, and I guarantee after a few months you will notice a difference and you will be a better player all around. So I hope you enjoyed the video guys. Thank you for watching. If you did enjoy it, please consider dropping a like, hit the subscribe button and turn notifications on. Your support's hugely appreciated. Also, you can find me streaming on Twitch and Facebook. Links will be in the description below. If you want to come and check them out, it'd be great to see you there. And until next time guys, keep gaming, keep safe, good night, GG.